Yo, yo, yo. What is up, Phenoms and or future Phenoms? I'm Kyle from the Fantasy Phenom, and I'm going to be doing an update to our Sheets Explained video. If you go to the main page, or I guess this will be the new video on there, but had you gone to the main page, you would have seen the last one we did about a month ago. And we've added some content to it. We've got some new subscribers, and obviously new roster building techniques. And so I kind of just want to go over how I use the sheets on a daily basis, what each tab entails, how to read it, and my process for building a roster. So for this video, I'm going to be using July 5th's slate, which is Wednesday. So for those of you watching, obviously, today, here's your free look at the sheets. Otherwise, you'll be looking at a retroactive video. But still going to be more than useful to see how to read the sheets. So starting off here, you see on the bottom, I have all those tabs there. The very first one is the weather sheet, right? So it's where we have all our weather information, the temperature, the wind, mile per hour, in and out, left, right, center. It also shows up on the game tab, and then we have the Vegas implied runs for the open and the close. So you get to see the change there and the percent change. And then, of course, that team's average runs per game. Here we have the recent stats for the last 7 days for each team. This is not based on hand. I've also added in the strikeout percentage, the WOBA, and the ISO for you guys to use. Again, this isn't the most important sheet. It kind of just shows you it's directly pulled from Fangraphs, so it's not like it is anything I've done crazy. It's just a Fangraphs pool. Now here is one of our money makers, and this is the home run percentage projection. What this does is it tells you, based on the matchup, based on the hitter stats, based on the pitcher's stats, very, very matchup dependent, what the chances are of each batter hitting a home run. Shout out to one of our Phenom admins and members of the team, Jeremy George, for coming up with this crazy formula. Dude is a math expert, and as you see here, anything over 10% is highlighted in green. We consider that a good chance of hitting a home run. 10% is a good chance. Now, keep in mind, right, you'll see, green, 21%, great chance, right? But it is still 20%. That's a 1 in 5 chance. It is not the end-all, be-all, but it should help at least guide you to good plays of where you should look at. It can help you find stacks. So you would look here, and we're looking at some New York bats, right? We got Cespedes, Bruce, Duda, and Flores all at over 10% tomorrow versus Rourke. That would make sense. We're looking at attacking some Tanner Rourke tomorrow. So that's how that works. Again, these are kind of individual numbers, and then this is all translated onto one page, which I'll show you in a second. Here are our batter StatCast stats. So these are, for those of you unfamiliar with StatCast, it is a advanced metric or advanced metrics of exit velocity, flight of the ball, trajectory, I should say. And so BBE, is batted ball events. This is the number of times the player has put a ball in play, regardless of outcome. Average EV MPH is average exit velocity miles per hour. As you can see here, they're color-coded. Typically, you're looking for about over 88, 89. The average is 87.4 by my latest calculations in the league. So above that, 95 is kind of the threshold that teams, or that this StatCast is set. So I still try and look for, it's very, very, very rare to find a guy that averages over 95 miles an hour, because that is considered a great average, or that is considered a great average, a great exit velocity, where good things happen. So, if a guy averaged that, he would be an amazing hitter. So again, I look for anything over 87. The 95 plus percentage is the number of times that a batter hits the ball over 95 miles an hour. Obviously, you look at Manny Machado here at the top. 49.8% of the balls hit are above 95 miles an hour off his bat. That's a very good thing. And then finally, we have barrels per batted ball event. Now, barrels is a combination of exit velocity and launch angle. So obviously, you want a good launch angle, right? You're looking at the angle the ball leaves the bat, and then a hard hit ball. You need both to get a home run, and that's considered a barrel. For plain English, I just talk about it as, you get the barrel on the bat, typically what a hitter looks for. We also have pitcher StatCast stats in another sheet. Same exact stats, just for the pitcher, right? Obviously, batters, you want higher numbers. Pitchers, you want lower numbers. If you look at Alex Wood, for example, 177 batted ball events, 2% of the time, 2% of those batted ball events end in a barrel. 26% of the time, the balls hit against them are 95 plus, which is really, really good, and an average exit velocity of only 84.8. So that is below the hitter's average. That is a good thing. That means guys are not making solid contact. Now here is the money dashboard. Call this the hitter dashboard. It is broken up by lineup. So once lineups are in an official, this page will update. So if, let's say Manny Machado wasn't in the lineup tomorrow, once we update the lineup on the sheets, Manny Machado will not appear on this dashboard because he's irrelevant, right? We don't care what Manny Machado is doing if he's not in the lineup. And it's going to be it's the same way every single time. And so you'll see here the guys, and it's every team that's playing, right? And they're all color-coded. This player, batter hand, the position they play, the team they play for, whether they're home or away, their FanDuel and DraftKings price, the opposing pitcher and that pitcher's hand, and then this park home run percentage. This is Fangraphs, again. Love their stuff. And what this tells you is 100 is average. Anything above 100 is considered a plus park, and obviously the higher above 100, the better it is for home runs. Milwaukee, they're playing in Milwaukee, and of course it's also broken up by hand. So you'll notice here Seth Smith as a lefty is 110%, so 10% above league average, and as a righty, Manny Machado, Miller Park is 14% above league average. So righties hit more home runs than lefties on average in Miller Park compared to league average. So that makes it a green park, good hitters park. If you look at Washington, for lefties it's 99%, which is pretty much league average. You can round up, and then for righties it's 96. So again, that's just kind of how you read that. Now this expected home run per at bat is another. This is a value that I created. Basically, it's the percent chance that this batter has of hitting a home run in this at bat, or in each at bat, given the matchup with the starting pitcher. It takes into account obviously the starting pitcher stats and the batter stats. We have the home run percentage, which is that same chart I showed you before. Now it's all in one place, right? So that just pulled that. We have a StatCast percentage. Now this is money. StatCast percentage is another projection that Mr. Jeremy George came up with here. And what it does is it takes all those StatCast numbers, plus some, and we've run tests on it, and we figured out in what respect is each StatCast number relevant, right? Some are more relevant than others. And what we've done is we've graded them out, and then we have come up with a projection. Anything above 10%, anything above 9% is graded green, and you'll see that reflected there. So we color code everything to make it easy. And kind of what to do. Now, what I typically do, StatCast and ISO and WOBA and hard contact are my 4 favorite stats, 5. And I'll show you what I do with them. So WRC plus, weighted runs created plus, is a advanced metric. Anything over 100 is considered great, or above average, I should say. Once you get up into the 150s, 200s, you're looking at elite production right here, right? So again, color coded accordingly. Light green is above average. Dark green is exceptional. Red is obviously not good. Light red is just below average. Pitcher WOBA. This is the WOBA that the pitcher holds total. So it's a kind of a combined formula that I've made, given the pitcher's WOBA here. Now this is WOBA for the batter based on pitcher hand. So you'll see here Seth Smith versus righties, because that's what Matt Garza is, holds a WOBA on the season of 321. Manny Machado versus righties holds a WOBA of 287. And then you look down here, Trey Mancini has been destroying righties, a 421 WOBA versus righties. A lot to like there, right? So again, you use that. And then another projected stat we've come up with is matchup WOBA. Now again, our statistic, so use it. You won't find it anywhere, so use it at your discretion. But we've taken the pitcher WOBA and the batter's WOBA and formulated a matchup WOBA based on the matchup of starter, pitcher, and bat. And it's different for each batter, obviously. We have the batter ISO, again, broken down by the starting pitcher's hand. So Seth Smith holds an ISO of 168 versus righties, Manny Machado 191, Jonathan Scope 228, right? Hard contact is what it sounds like. And that's the percentage, again, versus the pitcher hand. And fly ball percentage, again, versus the pitcher hand. They're all color-coded. Now, what I love to do is you go up here to this data tab. You can't see it on there, but if you're on a computer, you can do it. And you go to filter views. You should see it drop down in a second. And you'll go to create a new filter view. Now, what this does is it allows you to filter this. Pretty self-explanatory. And it's to your liking. Now, what I love doing, I mentioned I like StatCast, right? So I filter by condition here, and I go to none, or I'm sorry, I go to greater than, and I type in 0.08. I mentioned that anything above 9 is labeled green on the chart, but I still like to give a little wiggle room. So I'm going to label it 0.08, which is 8%, and hit OK. All of a sudden, it filters out all the guys that don't have a StatCast percentage over 8%. But that's a large player pool. Okay, so I'm going to filter down a little more. Let's look at batter ISO. Probably my second favorite stat, right? So I'm going to go here, greater than, let's use 150, so 0.15. Bam. Player pool just got a little smaller. Hard contact. I want over 30%. Actually, I'm going to go over 35%, which is 0.35. Bam. Filtered it out a little more. Now, finally, let's look at matchup WOBA here. Actually, no, let's do batter WOBA. I like batter WOBA a little more because pitchers could have a small sample size, etc. So we're going to do 0.325, a 325 WOBA. Bam. Now, that is a player pool, right? And so I'm looking here. I see, okay, you got 3 Yankees there. We got 2 Phillies. We got 2 Marlins. One St. Louis bat, 2 Boston, a couple Cincinnati, a couple Minnesota, 4 Oakland bats. Maybe that's a stack, right? Maybe that's a stack. 3 Milwaukee bats. Maybe that's a stack. We have 4 Tampa bats. Maybe that's a stack. So you see how this can kind of help you find stacks, right? 3 Detroit Tigers. So these are guys that pass a ton of filters. It helps shorten your player pool. Now, again, this does not have to be the end-all, right? Just because a guy doesn't pass this filter doesn't mean I won't play him. I'll often play guys that are in good spots. We talk about attacking the worst pitcher on the slate that fit stacks. So, for example, let's look here at, we'll go down to Detroit. We'll go down to Detroit here. So you'll see here that Detroit has JD Martinez, Justin Upton, Nick Castellanos, right? Does that mean Ian Kinsler, Alex Avila, Miguel Cabrera? None of those guys are in play? Absolutely not. These are just the guys that stand out using this filter. So, again, it helps you kind of start to find stacks, and then you build on that, right? So then you're like, okay, this team is returning a lot of players in a good position. Now, again, to throw a disclaimer on here, this also doesn't mean that, this is the end-all, be-all. This doesn't mean that, JD Martin that the Tigers stack is going to be the winning stack of the day. This is season numbers, so what they've done up to this point. So great starting point here. Excellent starting point. Love using this hitter dashboard. Okay? That's the start. Now another tool we have on here is batter versus pitcher pitch type. Okay, so again, player, right? Also based on lineups, so this will change as lineups come out. The batter hand, the position they play, the team they play for, home or away, FanDuel, DraftKings price, opponent or opposing pitcher, that pitcher's hand, that batter's WOBA, and ISO versus that pitcher hand. So same data up to this point from the hitter dashboard, right? WOBA and ISO, pretty important. Now, here's where it gets exciting. This WFB that you see titled here is weighted score versus the fastball for batters. This is from Fangraphs. You might want to read up on how they calculate pitch value to get a great understanding of how they calculate the score. But basically, it's determined by pitch count. So an average run creation score of a 0-0 count is 0. Compared to an 0-1 count, I believe is negative 0.02. So, you know, if a batter gets a single off of a fastball, I believe that run creation score is 0.045. So that would give a score to the batter of 0.047. Again, much easier for you to read it yourself and read up on how to use it. So I encourage that. Fangraphs, just Google search Fangraphs pitch value. The first article that comes up, that's it. So that's the batter score versus the pitch, right? Fastball, changeup, slider, curveball, sinking fastball, or I'm sorry, split finger. Split finger is SF. Okay? So column L, batter score versus that pitch. Column M, PFB, stands for pitcher fastball score. Again, like batter, 0 is considered average. If you have a negative score, it means that you have a negative run creation score given that, or that when you throw the fastball, or that pitch, for example. So, you know, if we're looking down at Tanner Roark here, negative 0.48 means that his fastball is below average, it gets hit, and he gives up some runs with it. Cool, right? And then the next chart, or the next column, is that percentage that the pitcher throws the pitch. It's important. You want to know how often does a guy throw a pitch, because let's look at who's a good example here. Let's find a great example, because I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Here you go. Mike Leake. Great curveball score. Or, I'm sorry, terrible curveball score. Terrible. Negative 1.76. But he only throws it 5% of the time. Not really a guy I'm going to attack because of his poor curveball score. Right? I love finding guys on this chart that throw a fastball above 55% of the time. I would love 60%. If they throw a fastball 60% of the time and it's bad, meaning they have a negative run creation score, that's a good sign to attack. And the reason I say that is fastball sets up all your other pitches. If you cannot establish a fastball as a pitcher, your other pitches aren't going to do any. They're not going to confuse the batters. They're not going to, worry that they're not going to worry because they know you can't throw the fastball. So they're not going to swing at the outside pitches. They're going to wait for you to challenge them with a fastball, and if you don't have a good one, you're not going to last very long. So how I've labeled it again, this is for hitters. It is color-coded according to hitters. So anything above 0.5 is green. Anything below 0.5 is red for hitters. Anything between that threshold is, I consider average. Minus 0.5 and positive 0.5. Nothing. It's not drastic either way. So you'll see here Seth Smith has a fastball score of 0.28, meaning that he's just above average at hitting the fastball. Nothing crazy. But then I look at Trey Mancini, and he's 3.1. Well, that jumps off the board. That's a great score versus a fastball. So, I want to pair him, and I want to look at a pitcher that throws a bad fastball. Now, Matt Garza, he throws a fastball 58% of the time, but it's pretty average. Negative 0.07, right below average. Is he the guy I want to attack with that pitch? Probably not. There's more attackable guys. That's not saying Matt Garza is not a guy you can attack. Not saying that at all. This is strictly based on pitch type. It's another tool to use. So here's an example. Matt Garza throws a slider 23% of the time, and it's above average. It's 0.54. And you'll notice here that is color-coded red. Again, relative to hitters. He throws this pitch above average. So it's color-coded red, meaning not a pitch you want to attack him with. So, curveball, same thing, 1.54 score. Not a pitch you want to attack with. I can't drive that point home enough. Relative to hitters. For hitters, to find guys you want to play, you want green across the board. Right? Look at Tanner Roark here. No red here. So, okay, fastball's below average, but not terribly below average. But Mets have good scores versus him. 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that are green. His changeup, not good. So he doesn't have a good fastball, doesn't have a good changeup. Not a good combo at all. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters that hit the changeup really well. Look at Travis Yarnov. Great changeup hitter. Now, a good thing here is, okay, so let's look. We have 2 guys that hit both the fastball and the changeup well, and Roark doesn't throw either exceptionally well. Bruce and Duda hit both of his main pitches well. That's a good sign, right? Doesn't mean automatically play him, but it can help validate stacks. Now here you see he throws a curveball 13% of the time, and it is a good pitch. So that you don't attack him for his curveball. So you kind of see where I'm getting at. You want green across. You want green in each of these boxes, meaning attack, right? So they're sectioned off. You see the lines there. That's kind of how you want to approach it. Okay. Now this is another money tab. This is the last 14 days statistics for each batter, again sorted by lineup. Same information that you see on that hitter dashboard, player to opposing pitcher. And then we have the amount of plate appearances, the amount of at-bats, doubles, triples, home runs, their WOBA, OPS, ISO, ground ball percentage, fly ball percentage, line drive percentage, pull, medium contact, hard contact, and home run per fly ball rate. My favorite thing to do with this tab is, again, go to this data. We go down to filter views, create a new one. We're going to do that again. And I'm going to sort WOBA by condition, greater than. I like 350 again, right? So I'm going to sort that. Bam. ISO. Let's filter that by, I want an ISO over 175 over the last 14 days. And this is how you find guys on streaks. Baseball is an extremely streaky sport. You find guys that are on hitter streaks. And then we go here to hard contact. I think this is a valuable tool as well. Let's put that over 30%. Actually, we'll go 35. 35% hard contact. That means they're hitting the ball over 30. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, you know why? Okay. I know why I did that. I'm going to have to mentally make a note there of hard contact. So, we've automatically shortened our player pool, right? We got 4 Brewers here. We got 5 Nationals. We have 3 Cardinals. We have 3 Rangers. We have 4 Reds. Interesting. So you see, again, this is another way to help find stacks. I was all over the Royals today, and I said on our pre-lock show, Royals are going to be a low-owned stack. They're the last game on that early slate in DK, and they've been hot. And sure, here you go, right? Here are those guys that were hot. It helped me start a stack. Now, again, it's another tool. This doesn't mean you only play guys from this list. It's a way to start building a tool. So I love to compare this because I filtered both, right? So I'm going to go back to this hitter dashboard, and I'll be like, okay, I see these guys on the last 14. So I'm going to start with let's look at the Royal stack, right? They're hot right now. They're hitting, obviously they have a couple of good hitters that are hitting the ball well. Let's see who fits that stack. So we're going to go down here. We go down to the Royals, and we're like, okay, so here's my Royals right here. So who's hitting well? Well, Mike Moustakas, green home run percentage, green StatCast percentage, 274 ISO, 28% hard contact. I'd like that to be a little higher, and a 43% fly ball rate. He's not exactly hot over his last 14 days, but he has good numbers on the season. He fits a stack. So if you're going to stack Royals, you don't have to play the 4 guys that are in that last 14. You want that stack to make sense. You don't want to stack, 1, 5, 9. Not necessarily your best stack, right? So you know that as a team they have hot batters. Maybe play guys in front of those hot batters. They get on base, they get driven in by the hot bat. Play both. So if Eric Hosmer's hot, play Bonifacio in front of him, or Lorenzo Cain in front of him. You know that Alcides Escobar is hot. Mike Moustakas, he has power potential. If he gets on base, maybe Escobar bats him in. I know that's not typical of, Escobar is not typically your RBI guy, but just using it as an example. You start with your stacks, right? Just how I use the dashboard, I use the last 14. Those are my 2 favorite places to go and start looking for stacks. My absolute 2. I actually start with the last 14 because I want to see who's hot. And then I go to the dashboard and see how they're doing on the year versus that pitcher hand. So that's where I go. Again, I use those filters. The filters are key. Love, love, love the filters. It makes your life so much easier. Again, we have our pitching dashboard here. Now these scores are, again, projections from us. So that we give each pitcher a base score based on their stats for the year. Again, color-coded. And then we have this other one, base opposition run percentage. Now that takes into account a couple factors, namely the team they're playing, the lineup they're playing, not the team, the lineup. So we take all the numbers from the starting lineup that they're running out, and we factor that in with how they've been over the last 7 days. And we kind of construct another projection here. Of course, here we have our percentage change. And then lastly, we have the pitcher's StatCast percentage. So what we've done, same thing with the batters, right, where we've taken the scores of the StatCast stats. We've developed a projection based on, is this a good play based on StatCast? Is the guy getting hit hard? Is he getting, is he getting barreled up often? You see here Alex Wood, the #1 StatCast guy tomorrow. Again, all color-coded for convenience. And then finally, just like the batters, we have the pitcher's last 14-day stats. Keeping with the theme of color coding, you see guys that are pitching well of late and guys that are pitching bad. It can help you find guys, that are currently in a rut, or guys that are pitching out of their mind. Then we get to the game sheets. I'm not going to go through all of them because just did a show on breaking down the slate, but how to read these. Obviously the game, the 2 teams, home or away, home, the game time. These will be your implied runs. We have the team stats versus each hand and situation. So Toronto at home versus lefty, at home versus righty, away versus lefty, and away versus righty. Obviously you only apply it to the one that you're looking at. So Michael Pineda, New York is at home. Toronto is on the road and they're facing a righty and Michael Pineda. So you look at this column right here. How do they fare versus righties? And then you can compare that. Okay, well, looks like they do better on the road versus lefties than they do righties. They strike out more on the road versus righties than lefties. They do hit more home runs on the road versus righties than lefties. So, it just helps give you another starting point for their overall team stats. Below that, we have the pitcher, the hand he throws with, his splits versus lefties versus righties. In this case, Marco Estrada's away, Michael Pineda's home. His last 14 days, so again, kind of that last 14 tab. And then his overall stats for the year. So it gives you a breakdown. So you see Marco Estrada's stats for the year. Well, how's he doing over his last 14 days? Is he pitching better than that? Worse than that? Does he pitch better than his year numbers on the road? How's he do versus lefties and righties? And with that, you kind of look and see, okay, well, the Yankees are throwing out a ton of lefties tomorrow. Does Estrada struggle with them? And he actually does better versus lefties. He Ks them more. He gives up a lower average. So it's just another tool, right? And then, of course, the starting 9. that will obviously update as lineups come in. This red confirmed will turn to green. And we have their salary, FanDuel DK, their position, what hand they bat with, their average. Again, all versus pitcher hand, all versus starting pitcher hand. So these stats right here are what each player does versus right-handed pitching so far this year. That's that. Their WOBA, ISO, hard contact, fly ball. So this breaks it down from a game-by-game perspective. That hitter dashboard puts it all into perspective so you can see the slate as a whole. If you want to go to a specific game and have it right in front of you, this is how you would do it. Okay. We then have the BVP tab. Self-explanatory, batter versus pitcher history. Again, use that filter button. You can filter out how you want to do it. We have hot bats and cold bats. Those are the last 7 days, how the team is done. We have the bullpen's last 7 stats. We have the bullpen's last 30 stats. You can see what bullpens are not pitching well of late and which ones are. They're sorted by ERA. So as you see, the Dodgers have the best bullpen in the last 30 days, last month. Makes sense. After that, don't have anything else. These are all stat sheets, so pitching stats. If you want to look there, I pulled this information for the game sheets. And then a ton of other pitching stats you can look at if you want to break it down, average versus right versus left. Again, all this is broken down on the game sheet, so you really don't need to go any farther than that BVP tab. So again, I cannot stress enough using the filter button, man. If you're on a computer, take advantage. You filter it, bam. And the nice thing is it saves, right? So you can uncheck that filter. You go to filter views and you go to none. It automatically saves your conditions. So here I have nothing checked, right? Full lineups. Go to this data, go to filter views. Bam. All of a sudden it's sorted StatCast over 8. WOBA over 325. Batter ISO over 150. Hard contact over 35, right? I just click that filter button and it automatically does it for me. It'll update. You just click that, so if lineups have updated, whatnot, and your filters change, so you set it tonight, and then you go look at it tomorrow morning and lineups are out, you click that little filter again, and it'll refresh with the guys that are currently in the lineup. Great, great, great tool. You see all the green across the board here. That's what you want, right? You're trying to find the best plays of the day. And to find your stacks, you typically want to see the teams that have the most guys in this situation. And again, remember, this is season, so this does not account for guys that are hot, and that's where this batter last 14 comes into play. The guys that are hot right now. Find the teams that have a ton of good hot bats. Washington has 5 guys that are hitting well. Maybe you don't play Jacob deGrom tomorrow. Now, Jacob deGrom is an exception, but you get the point. Cincinnati has 4 against John Gray. Well, okay, they're also in Coors. That's a good sign. Right, so maybe you look there and you start that, and then you go see what these guys are doing on the season. Find guys to pair around them if you can't play all of them. I can't stress enough these two and the filters again. WOBA over 350, ISO over 175. That is how I filtered these last 14 days. And the dashboard, WOBA over 325, ISO over 150, hard contact over 35%. And StatCast over 8%. StatCast and how I use it is it almost signals a good play. It means the guy is hitting the ball hard. He's got good trajectory on it. A lot of batted ball events, so it's a good sample size. And it takes into account the opposing pitcher as well. So it combines the two, and it comes up with a percentage that we think is good. Obviously, higher is better, and it's not gonna find you a home run because it takes into account all the StatCast stats, but it finds a guy that is hitting the ball well when he hits the ball. So again, it doesn't account for strikeouts. One downside to it, but it's just a good way to help find what we think is a good play. Now, it's not foolproof. Obviously, you need, to go with your gut at times. You got to check everything out, but it's a great way to start to find some stacks. And again, I can't stress this enough. It doesn't mean fade guys that don't make that filter. It doesn't mean that at all. It just can help you start your lineup building. If you talk to some of the guys in the group, DM me, DM Mike, Jeremy, Theo, Chris, hell, DM some of the guys that you see winning every night. Ask them how they use it. This is my way of using it. This is what the sheets have to offer and how it's broken down, how it makes lineup building successful. We have a guy, as of this video being made, on an 11-game win streak that does the same exact thing that I do. He just pocketed $1,000 yesterday using this. He filters the dashboard, the hitter dashboard, and he filters the last 14. His 2 favorite tabs, we're on the same page there. We both love using them, and it works. It works. It really does. And it's all broken down into one place for you. So this is how I use the sheets. And I know a lot of others use it in very similar ways. But again, I challenge you, find your style. If you have these sheets, find your style of using it. There is no wrong way per se. You find a strategy that works for you and you stick with it. Everybody plays different. See, here's the thing. We all read these same stats. Numbers are numbers. How we interpret them and what thresholds we set is where it's up for debate. You know, I may see a 35% hard contact rate and be like, oh, I like it. Whereas you may look at it and be like, oh, I want over 40. Perfectly fine. We see the same numbers. It's just going to filter how we look at it differently. Or you may say, 30% is fine for me. Perfectly okay. There is no wrong way per se to read these sheets. It's just a way to put all the numbers in one spot for you. Try and make your roster building easy and allow you to, become profitable in DFS. So these are the sheets we offer. If you're already a subscriber, this is how you use them, or at least how I use them. Again, I challenge you to use them, experiment with them, figure out how you can best use them. And if my strategy works for you, all the more power to you. But you don't have to do it that way. It's just, I'm trying to give you a starting point of how I use it. So, and again, I encourage you guys, please, 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 if you have questions, hit me or any of the admins or any of your peers up, the guys that are winning every day. Hit them up. This is all about the community. They will help you. They will set you up for success. If these guys are winning, again, we're all about it, man. They will help you. We all want each other to be profitable. We celebrate all the wins, big or small. And so it's just a great environment to be a part of. So if you're interested, click that link below. You get that 7-day free trial. Of course, check all this out. And if I think you'll like it, stay on. $10 a month. Nothing crazy. So hopefully helps you become a profitable DFS player, make that money back in one night. You're good to go for the rest of the month. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, hit me up. We'll take care of you and get you set up. Have a wonderful night, day, whenever you're listening, and happy DFSing.